last week I dropped some head coaches that I thought the Texans should avoid at all costs, and this week I'm dropping part 2 to that video. And in this video, like the first few names I'm gonna mention, I still think the Texans should avoid, and then like the names in the middle, it'd be a decent hire, but like the last few names I think would be an outstanding hire, and I would be very, very happy if the Texans got them. And as we get to those names, I will definitely be saying, if I think, like it'd be an amazing hire and all that good stuff. So before we get into this, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we're about to hit 5K subscribers. We're like a few away, unless like I somehow hit it overnight before I release this video, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So if you're not subbed yet, sub. Let's get to 5K, and once we hit 5K, I will be dropping a Q&A video. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the post I made the other day on that, ask questions, whatever. But yeah, let's just get right into it. At number 10, and this one might come as a surprise to you guys, I got Brian Schottenheimer, offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. But you're probably like, Sticky, Russell Wilson in that Seahawks offense is on fire. Why in the world would you not want this guy? It took him long enough. Like, legit, it took him long enough to finally let Russell Wilson cook. I believe he's been the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks for the past 3 or 4 years. And every single year, Seahawks fans would complain about him, how he was so bad, always wanting to run the ball first. And, Russell Wilson would have to come and bail the Seahawks out in the fourth quarter when they had to get away from the run game. Well, this year, he's finally letting Russell Wilson throw the ball, and obviously it's working. But I still don't want to get him because I feel like if he, becomes a head coach here in Houston, he'd want to, do what he was doing with Russell Wilson back then, just running the ball, running the ball, running the ball, running the ball. I don't trust this guy to let Deshaun Watson be Deshaun Watson. I feel like if he becomes a head coach, like, he's going to want things his way. Like, I honestly believe the only reason he's letting Russell Wilson throw the ball is because Pete Carroll probably told him, hey, man, running the ball is whack. Let Russell be Russell. And look what they're doing now. Like, is he a smart guy? Does he know how to call plays? Yes, but I do not trust him. At number 9, I have Anthony Lynn, current coach for the Chargers now. I think very highly of Lynn. Yes, he has like a very average record as the Chargers coach. I'm pretty sure he's like 21-21 as the Chargers head coach. But I mean, the Chargers are always decimated by injuries. I think he's a very, very good coach. But I still wouldn't go get him because I feel like he's still somewhat inexperienced. Like, he's an offensive-minded coach, but I don't really trust him like that. I mean, he straight up went from like a running backs coach his whole life to like, I believe he went to like an offensive assistant slash offensive play caller for a year, and then he became a head coach. Like, I do like him, the players do love him, but like, I wouldn't be too happy if the Texans got him. But if the Texans did get him, if he even became available, by the way, because I don't think he should be fired. I think he deserves another year with Herbert and, hopefully a healthy team and like maybe a revamped O-line. But if the Texans were to get him, like I said, I wouldn't be too happy, but I wouldn't be like completely upset. Like, say if we got like a Robert Saleh, I'd be freaking pissed. But yeah, I still wouldn't go get Anthony Lynn, but he's a decent guy, decent guy to keep an eye on because I do think he's okay. Next guy, number 8, Byron Leftwich, offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. Now, one of the coaches that I absolutely love, and you guys probably know this, Bruce Arians. And this guy has been under Bruce Arians' wing for like a good while now. Like, he had him over there in Arizona. So hopefully, Byron Leftwich has been around with Bruce Arians for a while now, and he's picked up some of the stuff that Bruce Arians does, that vertical passing attack, that going deep type of offense. And I think that offense would fit Deshaun Watson really, really well. My only issue with him is that he's been under Bruce Arians pretty much his whole career. Like, how much is Bruce Arians? How much is him? I think most of it has to do with Bruce Arians. Like, I really, really do. And I know this argument can be used for someone else that I'm going to mention later on in this list, but I feel like it can be used more so for this guy because he is, like, younger than the other guy, if you get what I'm saying. But Byron Leftwich is someone I wouldn't, like, be mad at, but I also wouldn't be, like, too ecstatic about it. Like, it wouldn't be a terrible hire, but it also couldn't be the best possible hire. At number 7, I have Brian Daboll, OC for the Buffalo Bills. I feel like this guy is making do with what he's got. I mean, Josh Allen was looking good the first 4 weeks of the season, and now he's kind of regressed these past 2 weeks to the Josh Allen of last year and the year before that. Terrible quarterback. But, like, he was doing good with what he had. I mean, obviously, Josh Allen is not the most talented guy. He can't throw a football. I mean, he could throw it really hard and really far, but he can't throw it very accurately. But he was still making things work with him, and he was letting Josh Allen be Josh Allen. He was utilizing Josh Allen in the run game as well, and I feel like, Brian Daboll with Deshaun Watson would be able to, do everything he was doing with Josh Allen and then some, because, Deshaun Watson can actually throw a football. So, yeah, I think Daboll would be a decent hire, but the reason why I wouldn't put it higher is because I have to see it more. I have to see more from him. This year's the first time Josh Allen has ever even looked good. Yeah, he had some games, but, like, those games were against terrible defenses. Like, Josh Allen, he's had 2 bad games in a row. One of those bad games came against a terrible Tennessee Titans defense. I mean, you guys saw Deshaun Watson tear him up, what was it, last Sunday. So, yeah, like, they're a really, really bad defense, and the Bills played them, like, when they had literally no practice time, and I believe they only put up, like, 16 points. I also want to see them against the Patriots. Patriots have a good defense. What are they going to do against, like, an actual good defense? Like, I do not trust this guy yet. I want to see more of him. Now, next guy I have on the list is Kellen Moore at number 6. Now, Kellen Moore, I feel like would be also a decent hire, but, like last year. Last year, the Cowboys' passing offense was amazing. This year, before Dak went down, their passing offense was amazing as well. And that's due to Kellen Moore. Like, Kellen Moore was there with Jason Garrett. He's there with Mike McCarthy right now. And he's doing some very, very good things. My only issue with him is, like, if you watch those Cowboys games, the offense doesn't open up until the Cowboys get behind big. And then he really, really opens up the offense. Now, when the offense is opened up, like, their offense is amazing. But when it's not, yeah, that offense is god-awful. Now, if you get him as your head coach, like, are you going to get him with an opened up offense, him now finally being able to do whatever he wants? Because, like, again, he's the offensive coordinator. He is not, like, the head coach. Like, he has to go with what Garrett and Mike McCarthy are telling him to do. Like, maybe they're telling him, okay, man, take things slow at first, establish the run. And then, like, he tries to do that. It doesn't work. So they have to start airing it out, and that starts working. How do you think they came back against Atlanta? Like, they were airing it out. They were letting Dak Prescott throw the ball. And keep in mind, Deshaun Watson is better than Dak Prescott. So, I mean, I think Kellen Moore would be an interesting hire. Like, I would definitely be interested. Like, it would pique my interest if they got Kellen Moore. But I do think there are better options out there than Kellen Moore. Now, at number 5, I have Greg Roman. You guys know who he is. The offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, thing about Greg Roman is, like, yeah, he built a nice offense around Lamar Jackson, and yes, he's limited with Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson can't throw a football as well. Kind of similar to Brian Dable. He built a good offense, but they say Greg Roman is the Wade Phillips of offense. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Wade Phillips, there's like a stigma around him. You get him as your DC. The first year, he turns your defense around, makes it like, worst to first type of deal. The second year, it's still pretty good, but not as good as it was the first year. The third year, it goes to trash. Complete trash. And the fourth year, well, it keeps just going downhill from there. Now, if you look at, Greg Roman last year, that Baltimore offense was unstoppable. This year, it's still pretty good, but it's nowhere near as good as it once was last year. And let me just tell you this. Earlier this year, when the Chiefs beat the Ravens, I forgot who they interviewed, but they interviewed a Ravens player, and they told him, how did the Chiefs stop you? And, that player said, it's nothing new. They pretty much did the same thing that the Titans did in the playoffs. And you know what? What the Titans did in the playoffs was the same thing that the Chargers did in the playoffs in 2018. So you're pretty much telling me it's been two-ish years, over 2 years, and Greg Roman can't figure out a way to beat a certain defense? That's a huge red flag for me. But one of my stream viewers, Samuel, PFF Samuel, he did mention something to me, which really piqued my interest, which is why Greg Roman is so high on my list. And he said, well, yeah, Sticky, it's true, Roman hasn't figured out how to beat that defense, but the only reason he hasn't figured out how to beat that defense is because Lamar Jackson can't make the throws to beat said defense. And you know who can? Deshaun Watson. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's a better runner than Deshaun, but Deshaun's, a way better thrower. So maybe, Greg Roman would be a good hire after all. So he's definitely someone I would be interested in, but I still think there's coaches better than Greg Roman. At number 4, the only college coach I think is worth looking at is Lincoln Riley, the head coach for OU, Oklahoma. Now, the reason why I think he's worth looking at, the reason why I think he's good, look at the quarterbacks he's produced. Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield. Now, I'm not saying these guys are going to be anything in the NFL. I'm not. Baker obviously is struggling. Kyler's looking nice. Jalen Hurts, I don't know if he's ever going to play this season. He has a few snaps, but I don't know if he's going to play more or, get significant playing time. But they're all different quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, run first quarterback. Kyler Murray, balanced quarterback, can do it all, kind of like Deshaun Watson. Baker Mayfield, pocket passer. But their offense never lost a step. This guy knows how to build an offense centered around his quarterback, and he makes it work. You know how Concho would say all the time with Bill O'Brien, he tried to fit square pegs into circles or whatever? Lincoln Riley, he looks at his team and he does what his team is built to do. The Texans, they're currently built a certain way, attack deep, crossing patterns, win with speed. They're not built to run the ball. He would not come in here and try to run the ball 40 times a game, how they're currently trying to do. No, he would come in there and air it out and try to get his speed guys open in the open field. He would be a really good hire, and if the Texans got him, I would be very, very happy. But the reason why he's not higher on my list, he's a college coach, man. I'm really not too big a fan of college coaches, but if there's one I think we should get, it's Lincoln Riley. Like I said, he builds his team to fit his quarterback. He's not out here trying to make the quarterback fit his scheme. he builds his scheme around his quarterback. And I think that would be amazing for Deshaun Watson. Now at number 3. And this is the only defensive-minded coach that I would be happy if the Texans got. And that is Matt Eberflus, defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. Why? Look at his defense. Look at the talent on that Colts defense. Pretty much non-existent besides Darius Leonard and DeForest Buckner. Everyone else is kind of meh. Like, Xavier Rhodes was literally cut from his team because he was so bad. Rocky Sin, second round pick from last year, he's not too good. They got no safeties. Malik Hooker's always hurt, and he's looking like a bust when he does play. The other linebackers are just a bunch of Jags. They have Justin Houston, but I mean, he's not who he once was. He's a decent player, but other than, like, they got nothing on defense. But that defense plays really well together. Why? Because they're coached extremely well. Like, a lot of people say, well, if the Texans get a defensive-minded coach, he'll fix that defense up immediately. No. Robert Saleh, he needs talent. He needs talent to have a good defense. Matt Eberflus, he's showing that he doesn't. He has his guys ready to play. He has them coached well. He puts them in position to succeed week in and week out. Keep in mind, Deshaun Watson always struggles against one team every single year. You know what that team is? The Indianapolis Colts. Matt Eberflus always gives Deshaun Watson trouble every single year. Last year, he gave Patrick Mahomes trouble. He hasn't played Lamar Jackson yet, but he plays them this year. And I can guarantee you, he's probably going to give Lamar Jackson trouble. I would not be shocked if that Colts defense does really good against Lamar Jackson. That's why I think Matt Eberflus should be the only defensive-minded coach that the Texans should look at. If the Texans bring in Matt Eberflus, the Texans defense will automatically go from worst to top 10. I think he's that good because I think the Texans defense is probably more talented than the Colts defense, as crazy as that might sound. Because the Colts, they don't have a Justin Reed. They don't have a Bradley Roby, a Garyon Conley. I'm not going to say they don't have a Zach Cunningham because obviously they have someone better. Darius Leonard. They don't have a J.J. Watt. Well, Buckner's pretty good too, but, they don't have all these players. I feel like the Texans, if the Texans are not more talented, they're just as talented. And, I think Eberflus can come in here and turn this Texans defense from one of the worst to a very good defensive unit. Now, obviously, when you hire a defensive coach, there comes some concerns with who they hire as the offensive guy, and obviously that's going to be a concern, which is why he's not higher on my list. So, yeah, I think Eberflus would be a great hire for the Texans, and if the Texans got him, I would be absolutely ecstatic. I would be so happy because he would be able to bring a dominant defense back to Houston how we had it in the early 2010s. Next guy, at number 2. This was going to shock a lot of you guys. At number 2, I have Eric Bieniemy. What, Sticky? He's not your one? Why? I think there's someone better. But yeah, Eric Bieniemy. Well, what can I say that hasn't already been said? KC, explosive offense. He calls the plays. The Texans' offense is built similar to KC's offense. The Texans have a better offensive line. Obviously they have a tight end, a better tight end than us, but we have the receivers too, the fast receivers, Will Fuller. We have Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb. We have the talent. Our offense is built like KC's offense. Our offense is the Walmart brand version of the Chiefs offense. And I think Bieniemy would be able to come in here right away and do what he was doing, with KC, with that offense, because I think Deshaun Watson's every bit as good as Patrick Mahomes. He's just like in a not so great situation, as compared to Patrick Mahomes. So I think Bieniemy would be a great hire, and I'm pretty sure he'd be able to poach off some of those, coaches from the Chiefs. And I think a notable one would be the Chiefs O-line coach. And why will he be able to poach him off? His son, Charlie Heck, plays for the Texans. Don't you want to come coach your son? I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line is very well coached. Besides Mitchell Schwartz, they have a bunch of scrubs, man. Eric Fisher, trash. The inside of their offensive line, trash. Over here, he's got Tunsil, Titus Howard. The best offensive tackle duo. Well, I wouldn't say best, but definitely one of the best offensive tackle duos in the NFL. The Saints are still first. But, one of the best offensive tackle duos in the NFL. He'd have a good offensive line. He'd be able to poach their offensive line coach off their team, and he'd be able to come coach over here and coach up this Texans offensive line to be good, because talent is not an issue on this offensive line. It is coaching. So he'd be able to come over here and, quickly install the Chiefs offense in Houston, because like I said, their offense is built exactly the same, man. So yeah, I think Bieniemy would be an amazing hire. The only question is, who is going to be his defensive coach and all that, but I feel like that's the question for every offensive guy. Who would he bring in for his coaching staff? Obviously, I feel like he'd poach some people off the Chiefs, but where else could he go? See, when I ask that, I think of two places: Philly and Chicago. Why? Well, because if you guys don't know, which you should, the head coach for the Eagles, Doug Peterson, and the head coach for the Bears, Matt Nagy, they also come from the Chiefs. And when Carson Wentz was actually playing good, that Eagles offense was rolling. And Matt Nagy's over there making things work with Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. They're 5-1. I think the people that come from the Andy Reid coaching tree, they're very, very good coaches. And I feel like since, Bieniemy would have some familiarity with those coaches, obviously he's been with Matt Nagy, he's been with Doug Peterson in KC. I feel like he'd easily poach some people off of their coaching staff as well. And obviously, you guys know the Bears' defense is really, really good. So maybe he gets a defensive guy from over there, and maybe that guy is able to come over here and, form a good defense. Okay. And now for my number one guy. This is the guy I absolutely want the Texans to get. I think he's the best guy you could get. Number one on my list is Bill O'Brien. I think this guy's amazing. I'm just playing. Number one on my list is Joe Brady. Joe Brady, the OC for the Carolina Panthers. Now, why this guy? Look at what he's doing with Teddy Bridgewater and that offense. Remember how I said the Texans offense is like the Walmart brand version of the Chiefs offense? Well, the Carolina Panthers offense is like the Walmart brand version of the Texans offense. Besides Christian McCaffrey, but they have a worse offensive line. They have the Walmart brand version of our players. They got fast guys, but they're not as fast as our guys. Not saying Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson and what's his name, Moore are bad players, but I still think our guys are better. Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb. But even without Christian McCaffrey, Mike Davis is doing good things over there for the Panthers, their backup running back. Their offensive line is not as good as the Texans. And that Panthers offense is still rolling. Joe Brady, he's 31 years old. 31 years old. He is the next Sean McVay. Now you're probably asking, Sticky, he's too young. Look back at last year. Where was Joe Brady last year? Think about it. LSU. LSU. What did LSU do last year? Well, I don't know, maybe Joe Burrow exploded for like 60 touchdowns in college football. They won a championship, the LSU Tigers, because of that explosive offense. Got Joe Burrow drafted first overall. What's his name? Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, that explosive offense in LSU in 2019 was because of Joe Brady. Look at that LSU offense now. Not as good. Teddy Bridgewater is looking like a very good quarterback, or a decent quarterback, when in the past he hadn't really looked all that good. And, in the past there was really even questions about him throwing the football. He has the Panthers looking good. He made that LSU offense amazing. And here in Houston, he'd be able to run what he wants to run because Deshaun Watson is a quarterback who isn't limited with throw power like a Teddy Bridgewater, who isn't limited mobility-wise like Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not saying Teddy Bridgewater can't, scramble or run, but you'll never see Teddy Bridgewater do the stuff Deshaun Watson does. Deshaun Watson's a whole different level of mobile. And I know some people are like, oh, he's too young, Sticky, but he's too young. But look at what he's done, man. The things he'd be able to do here in Houston would be amazing. I think Joe Brady is the next guy. I think he is the next Sean McVay, the next offensive innovator. People made fun of the Rams for going with the young guy in Sean McVay. I don't care how young he is. This dude looks like a nerd, man. This guy looks like he breathes, eats football. He sleeps with football probably. The dude's a weirdo. This guy is football. He's a football nerd. I think the Texans need this guy on their team. He's 31. He'd be able to be here 40 years. He'd be able to, be here for Deshaun Watson's career. And in 15 years, when Deshaun Watson retires with 15 Super Bowl rings, he brings in a new guy, and he picks right back up. I think this guy is this good. I think he's better than Bieniemy, because with Bieniemy, you have the question is, okay, how much is Eric Bieniemy and how much is Andy Reid? I get that. Some people ask that. I get that. With Joe Brady, it's not like that. With Joe Brady, you see all that? Yeah. That's Joe Brady. And I think, even though he's young, I think Joe Brady is ready to take that step and be a head coach. If Sean McVay could do it, why can't Joe Brady? There were some people saying last year, why don't someone hire Joe Brady in the NFL? People are like, oh, he's too young. Oh, he college ranks. Well, okay, he did it in college. He did great. He's doing it with Carolina with not that great of a roster. I believe Carolina's 3-3 when everyone really thought they would only win 3 games the whole season. The reason why they're doing so good is because of Joe Brady, man. The dude just makes things work. Again, they ain't got Christian McCaffrey. They haven't had him since week 2. And they're still winning games. He is the guy. Again, Teddy Bridgewater. Decent quarterback. Not amazing. Look at the things he'd be able to do with Deshaun Watson. Look at what he did with Joe Burrow in college. The dude is next. I do not want the Texans missing out on Joe Brady. Would Eric Bieniemy gonna be a good hire? Yeah. Would Matt Eberflus be a good hire? Yeah. Would Lincoln Riley be a good hire? Absolutely. But none would be better than Joe Brady. And I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on him. People are hopping on the Eric Bieniemy hype train and not even willing to look anywhere else. I mean, seriously, go look at the things Joe Brady has done, the things he's doing. Pay attention to the Carolina Panthers for the rest of the season. And keep in mind, Eric Bieniemy, he's doing it with Patrick Mahomes and all those weapons. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Joe Brady's doing it with the off-brand versions of those players. And those off-brand versions of those KC players aren't even as good as our off-brand version of those KC players, So Joe Brady is the guy the Texans should get. At least that's what I think. And yeah, this concludes, the head coaching candidates that I think the Texans should get. And I am so sorry for going on, for 30 plus minutes. I just get, really excited talking about like these really, really good coaches, like the Bieniemys, the Joe Brady's, Matt Eberflus, Lincoln Riley. So I'll apologize. This is why I didn't want to like put two videos together, because it would have been like a 40-something minute long video, and I don't really want to do that. I usually don't want to drop 30-minute videos either, but yet here we are. Like, I don't want to, split it up again and make you guys wait even longer. So I'm just going to drop a 30-minute video. Hope you guys enjoy it. Comment down below if you made it this far, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.